The clock struck 12:05 a.m., a time when the world usually sleeps. Nuwan sat in the flickering glow of the security monitors, scanning the empty hotel lobby. Everything seemed normal, until he switched to the third-floor feed. He froze, his fingers tightening around his coffee mug before it slipped, shattering on the floor. At the end of the hallway, where only a blank, plaster wall had stood hours ago, there was now a heavy wooden door. A brass plate gleamed under the dim lights, etched with the number 13. Driven by a cold curiosity, Nuwan climbed the stairs. The air on the third floor felt heavy, smelling of ancient dust and rotting cedar. He reached into his pocket and found a rusty key he didn't remember carrying. As he slid it into the lock, a sharp, metallic click echoed through the silent corridor. He pushed the door open and stepped into the unknown. The room was unnervingly simple. A single stained bed sat in the corner, and a large, cracked mirror hung on the far wall. Sensing a sudden chill, Nuwan turned to leave, but the door slammed shut with a force that shook the floorboards. He lunged for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. He turned back to the mirror, and his heart stopped. His reflection was smiling widely, a twisted, predatory grin that Nuwan wasn't making. His own face was frozen in a mask of absolute terror, unable to move a single muscle. The reflection slowly raised its hand, its fingernails screeching against the glass as it carved the words, "Let me out!" The glass didn't just crack, it exploded outward. A figure identical to Nuwan stepped into the room, cold and solid. It grabbed his collar, its strength unnatural, and shoved him hard against the silvered surface. Nuwan fell backward, not hitting a wall, but plunging into a suffocating void of darkness. He spun around and slammed his fists against the glass from the inside, but his hands passed through the surface like gray smoke. On the other side, the creature calmly straightened its uniform, wiped the dust from its shoulders, and walked out of the room, leaving Nuwan in the dark. Weeks turned into a blur of silent agony. From within the mirror, Nuwan watched the creature live his life, greeting his friends and taking his paycheck. Then, one night, the hotel manager entered the room. He didn't look surprised to see Nuwan behind the glass. He held a stack of yellowed photographs, pressing them one by one against the mirror. Each photo showed a different man in a security uniform, dating back to 1985 and 1992. "You are just the latest," the manager whispered, his eyes void of pity. Behind Nuwan, dozens of pale, shifting faces emerged from the shadows of the void. He was not alone. He was merely the newest addition to a gallery of the lost. He traced the corner of the frame and found a desperate carving. "Only one may leave." The creature returned that night, leading a young, nervous, new employee. It handed the boy the rusty key and whispered with a voice that sounded like dry leaves, "There is no room 13. Just check the end of the hall." Nuwan watched through the silver veil as the boy approached the door. He understood the rules now. The mirror demanded a soul for a soul. As the boy reached for the brass handle, the hallway lights began to flicker and die. Nuwan felt a surge of predatory instinct. He reached out, his hands no longer smoke, but solid hooks of desperation. He wasn't the only one. Dozens of pale, withered hands erupted from the mirror's surface like a wave of white spiders. They seized the boy's jacket, his arms, his throat. The boy didn't even have time to scream before he was yanked violently into the wall, vanishing into the darkness where Nuwan had suffered for so long. A violent pull dragged Nuwan forward, and suddenly, he was gasping for air in the cold hallway. He stepped out of the mirror, his feet hitting the carpeted floor. The boy was gone, trapped in the void. The creature that had stolen his life had vanished into thin air, its debt paid. Nuwan stood trembling, looking back at the door. He watched in silence as the brass numbers shifted, the 3 spinning and warping until it became a 4. Room 13 had disappeared, replaced by room 14, waiting for the layout to change again. Nuwan looked down at his hand and saw the rusty key glinting in the dim light. He was free. But he was no longer the man he used to be. He took a deep breath, straightened his collar just as the creature had done, and walked toward the stairs. He would wait. He would watch the monitors. He would wait for the next person to find the door that shouldn't exist.